Every morning when you wake up, you meet a man in the mirror, and whether you realize it or not, you have a relationship with that man. Some days you glance and move on quickly, pretending not to notice. Other days you pause just long enough to feel a hint of regret, then brush it aside with distraction. But deep down, you know, there's a version of you staring back that you haven't become. Not yet. And maybe, just maybe, you're afraid of him. You see, the man you're afraid to become isn't a villain. He's not dangerous. He's capable, he's disciplined, he's bold, and that's what makes him intimidating. He's the man who shows up early, speaks with conviction, holds the line on his standards. He's the man who doesn't blame circumstances, he owns them. He's the man who makes the call, builds the habit, keeps the promise. And because of that, he stands taller in the room, walks with clarity, and attracts opportunity. You're not afraid of his failure, you're afraid of what he demands from you. Let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. Fear doesn't just come from danger. Fear comes from responsibility. The moment you accept who you could become, you have to let go of who you've been. And that's a hard trade. It means leaving behind the excuses that have kept you company. It means waking up earlier, thinking clearer, walking into the unknown with discipline instead of delay. Most people don't fail because they couldn't succeed. They fail because they feared becoming someone they're not yet willing to be. But here's the truth. That man in the mirror, he's not your enemy. He's your potential. He's the life waiting to be lived if you just stop running from the standards that shape him. You don't become him all at once. You become him one choice at a time. You wake up and decide to meet him with eye contact instead of avoidance. You shave, you dress, you move, you speak, not as the man you feel like, but as the man you're becoming. And yes, it's uncomfortable. But so is regret. And regret is the payment you make when you ignore the man in the mirror for too long. I want you to stop and consider this. If you keep waking up the way you have been, where does that lead you? Who will you be 5 years from now if you never rise to meet the man you fear becoming? Because make no mistake, he's not the threat. Drift is the threat. Delay is the danger. Distraction is the thief. So today, I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to challenge you. I'm here to invite you to step into the tension that builds greatness. The man you're afraid to become, he's waiting. And the next time you face the mirror, I want you to see him not as a stranger, but as your next identity. Let's talk about how to get there. First, we must confront who you've been settling for. It's a sobering question, isn't it? Who have you been settling for? Not who you hope to become someday when everything lines up. No, I mean, who have you allowed yourself to become in the quiet moments when no one is watching? Because the life you're living right now is not the product of chance. It's the product of choice. And too many good people are stuck, not because they lack talent or intelligence, but because they've gotten comfortable with a version of themselves they know isn't the full picture. I know what that's like. You start with dreams, fire, ambition. You tell yourself you're going to rise, but slowly, quietly, life wears on you. You take a few detours, make a few compromises, and before long, you're no longer living with purpose. You're managing disappointment. You stop showing up early. You let discipline slip. You trade progress for comfort and excellence for acceptance. And all the while, you convince yourself that this version of you, this lesser version, is good enough. But let me remind you, good enough is not what you were designed for. You were built for growth, for courage, for the kind of maturity that doesn't ask for easier roads, but stronger backs. The man you've been settling for, he procrastinates when he should act. He avoids when he should face. He stays silent when he should speak. He breaks his own word when no one's around to hold him to it. And here's the worst part. He knows it. He carries that knowledge into every room, every conversation, every missed opportunity. That weight doesn't go away. It just gets heavier. You see, drifting isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's slow. It shows up in small choices, letting the alarm snooze one more time, telling yourself you'll start next Monday, avoiding the uncomfortable phone call. Settling isn't always loud, but it's always costly. And the cost isn't just your income or your reputation. It's your identity. It's waking up year after year feeling like a stranger to the man you once promised you'd become. Now, here's what I know. The reason you're watching this right now is because something inside you is tired of that version. You've had enough of letting yourself off the hook. You're ready to stop negotiating with your own potential. And that's good. That means the real you, the rightful you, is starting to rise again. You're remembering. You're feeling the pull. But don't just feel it, respond to it. The mirror doesn't change until the morning changes, and the man you want to become won't appear through willpower alone. He appears when you start making different decisions, when you hold yourself to a new standard and stop calling it normal to underperform. You can't build a strong future on a weak identity. And if the foundation of your days is built on good enough, the structure of your life will always wobble under pressure. So I want you to pause and reflect, not with shame, but with clarity. Who have you been settling for? And more importantly, why? Because if you can name it, you can change it. And if you're ready to rise, the next step is to uncover the subtle habits and daily behaviors that are keeping you small. Those patterns that don't seem dangerous, but are quietly keeping you from the life you know is possible. Let's get honest about those drift behaviors. Let's name the anchors that are holding you down. Because until you do, the man you fear becoming will always feel just out of reach. And we're here to bring him close. Ready? Let's go. If you've ever wondered why your life feels stuck, why your mornings feel numb, or why your confidence has gone quiet, the answer isn't hidden in the stars or locked away in some mystery. It's right in front of you, woven into your daily behavior, the little things, the repeated patterns, the habits that look harmless but compound into stagnation. You see, no one drifts into greatness. You only drift into mediocrity. And drift is always powered by behavior, small choices repeated until they become identity. Let me walk you through what I call the quiet killers, the behaviors that keep you small. The first is procrastination. Not the dramatic kind, but the daily kind. The I'll do it after coffee. The I'll start fresh Monday. The I need more time to think. These delays are not harmless. Every time you put off what you know must be done, you train your mind to avoid growth. You reinforce hesitation. You start to believe that your fear is a fact. And over time, you become a man who doesn't follow through, not because he can't, but because he doesn't. The second is distraction. I'm not just talking about social media or television, though they certainly play a part. I'm talking about the way we engineer escape into our day. You wake up, reach for your phone, and before your feet hit the floor, your mind has been hijacked by someone else's agenda. You go through the motions, but your mind never anchors to purpose. You check email, scroll headlines, answer texts, and suddenly it's noon, and you haven't done one meaningful thing. This is drift. And it masquerades as busyness. Don't be fooled. Motion is not progress. Then there's excuse making. I'm tired. It's been a long week. No one else is doing it either. These aren't just words. They're the language of stagnation. When you start justifying your own neglect, you become blind to it. You normalize low effort. You congratulate yourself for surviving when you were built to grow. You say things like, I did enough, when deep down, you know you didn't do your best. That gap between what you did and what you could have done, that's where regret lives. Another drift behavior? Isolation. You stop sharing your goals. You stop asking for accountability. You convince yourself that doing it alone is more noble. But the truth is, drift loves darkness. When no one sees your habits, no one questions them. And slowly, without feedback, your standards start to slip. You become the man who's always getting back on track, but never staying there. These behaviors don't scream, they whisper, and that's what makes them dangerous. Because a whisper repeated daily becomes a belief, and beliefs drive identity. If you believe you're someone who always needs more time, who never follows through, who isn't ready yet, you'll live that way. You'll shrink into a version of yourself that plays small, stays quiet, and walks through life looking down. But let me challenge you today. These habits may feel natural, but they're not necessary. You can interrupt them. You can break the cycle. The first step? Awareness. Once you name these drift behaviors, you weaken their hold. You stop living by default and start living by design. You replace delay with action, distraction with focus, excuses with ownership. The man you fear becoming, he broke these patterns, not because he's fearless, but because he chose discipline. and you can too. The next step is to see what that decision looks like in real life. I want to share with you a moment from my own journey, how I faced fear, not in theory, but in the morning light. Because the man I was afraid to become, he wasn't just a dream. He was waiting for me to stop hiding and start building. Let's step into that story, because in it you'll find your own. I remember the moment like it was yesterday. I was in my mid-20s, broke, discouraged, and drifting. Oh, I had ideas, I had ambition, but I didn't have execution. I didn't have consistency. I didn't have standards. I woke up late, wandered through my mornings, and blamed everything but myself for the way life was going. And then one morning, something changed. I walked into the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and for the first time in my life, I really saw myself, not just the surface. I saw the excuses behind my eyes. I saw the slack in my shoulders. I saw a man who kept talking about potential but wasn't doing one disciplined thing to reach it. That reflection didn't lie. It didn't flatter. It confronted me. And for a moment, I was angry, not at the world, but at me. Angry that I'd let it slide this long. Angry that I'd sold myself so short for so many years. But here's the good part. That moment didn't destroy me. It woke me up. You see, the truth, no matter how sharp, always comes with an invitation. And that morning, I heard it. It didn't come through lightning or thunder. It came as a whisper. You can do better, and you know it. That whisper was the voice of the man I feared, the man who demanded more from me, the man who didn't tolerate drift, the man who had been buried under comfort and delay. He was still there, and for the first time, I was ready to meet him. So I made a decision, not a dramatic one. I didn't swear to change my whole life in a day. I just decided that the man I feared becoming, disciplined, sharp, early rising, thoughtful, consistent, was no longer the enemy. He was the model. I stopped avoiding him and started pursuing him, and I began with my mornings. I set my alarm 30 minutes earlier, not because I liked waking up early, but because I needed to prove to myself that I was in charge. I started my day not with noise, but with silence. I didn't reach for my phone. I reached for my notebook. I asked questions. I wrote down my goals. I planned my actions. I declared who I would be that day. I shaved. I dressed, not for others, but for myself. I needed to see in the mirror a man who was rising. And you know what happened? Nothing. At first, no applause, no fireworks, no overnight success, just a quiet internal shift. But over time, that shift turned into momentum. That discipline created dignity. That commitment built confidence. And that confidence began to draw opportunity. I tell you this not to impress you, but to impress upon you that facing fear starts with facing yourself. Not once, not occasionally, daily. You can't conquer what you keep avoiding. The man you fear becoming isn't waiting 5 years down the road. He's waiting in the first 5 minutes of your morning. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to stop lying to yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. Once I did that, the game changed. Not because the world changed, but because I did. Now I want to help you do the same. It's time to stop running from the man in the mirror and start building him, piece by piece, habit by habit, morning by morning. And to do that, you need to build a new self-view, one rooted in vision, discipline, and identity. Let's talk about how to wake up like the man you're becoming, not someday, tomorrow. You don't stumble into a new identity. You don't wake up one morning transformed by accident. Identity is something you build, brick by brick, choice by choice. It's not handed down from your parents, and it's not assigned by the world. It's forged in the quiet hours of discipline, when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when it's just you and the decision to rise or roll over. Let me give you a picture. Imagine your life as a block of marble. Inside that block is the man you were born to become, sharp, defined, respected, capable. But that man doesn't appear until you pick up the chisel. The chisel is your morning. The chisel is your routine. The chisel is the decision to stop hitting snooze and start hitting your stride. Every time you rise with discipline, you carve away a little more of what doesn't belong, fear, doubt, excuses, and what's left behind is the real you. Now, here's the danger. If you don't define your identity, life will, and life doesn't always aim high. The world will be happy to give you a name: lazy, inconsistent, good enough, forgettable. If you don't choose your standard, someone else will choose it for you. That's why mornings matter so much. It's not about the time on the clock. It's about the tone you set for the day. The first 10 minutes of your morning are a vote for who you are becoming. So let's talk about how to wake up like the man you're afraid to become. First, you affirm your identity. You don't wait to feel worthy. You declare it. You say, I'm the kind of man who follows through. I'm the kind of man who leads himself. I'm the kind of man who keeps his word, even when no one's watching. You plant that declaration in your mind before the distractions come knocking. Second, you prepare your posture. Not just physical, but mental. Sit up straight. Breathe deep. Remember, how you carry yourself affects how you believe in yourself. If you carry yourself like someone with low standards, the world will treat you that way. But if you carry yourself like a man on a mission, people will begin to notice, even if they don't yet know what changed. Third, you clarify your actions. Identity isn't just mindset, it's movement. So ask yourself, what does the man I want to become do next? Then do it, not later, not when you feel ready. Now that's how you build belief, by behaving in alignment with your future, not your past. Let me tell you something important. You don't need anyone's permission to become great, but you do need your participation. You must engage with your own future. You must own your mornings, not survive them. Because if your mornings are casual, your life will be average. But if your mornings are intentional, your life will begin to rise. You're not just waking up to get through the day. You're waking up to sculpt a man, a leader, a force, someone who walks into rooms with quiet strength and unshakable standards. But it begins with vision, and that vision must become discipline. In the next section, I'll show you exactly how to structure that discipline. 5 simple steps. 1 powerful morning ritual. This is how we stop drifting and start designing the identity that changes everything. Let's build it. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. And that bridge gets built each morning before the world has a chance to pull you back into drift. You don't need a long list of tasks. What you need is a ritual, a short, repeatable process that aligns your behavior with your identity. If you repeat it long enough, it becomes who you are. That's what we're after. Not motivation, not hype, but transformation through rhythm. Here's a 5-step morning ritual to help you wake up like the man you're afraid to become. The man who earns respect, creates momentum, and commands his own path. It won't take more than 5 minutes, but it will set the tone for your entire day. Do it before the noise, before the distraction, before you give your energy to anyone else. Step 1, affirm your vision. Sit up, plant your feet, and speak out loud the future you're building. Not what you hope happens, what you're committed to. Say it clearly. I am building a strong, disciplined life. I am becoming the man I respect. Speak with conviction. Don't whisper it like a wish. Declare it like a vow. Step 2, face your fear with a question. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding today? Don't flinch. The man you fear becoming doesn't hide from tension. He walks toward it. If you avoid that call, that conversation, that decision, it will own you. But when you confront it first thing, you take back control. Fear shrinks in the face of clarity. Step 3, declare your commitment to growth. Look in the mirror and say, today I improve. Today I grow. I won't repeat yesterday's weakness. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. If you made a mistake yesterday, acknowledge it and move forward. The man who wins is not the man who avoids failure. It's the one who doesn't repeat it. Step 4, visualize success in detail. Close your eyes for 30 seconds and see yourself winning. See yourself walking into that meeting with confidence, finishing the workout, speaking with strength, following through. This mental rehearsal isn't fluff. It's preparation. Your brain moves toward the images you plant. Plant something strong. Step 5, plan your first purposeful action. Decide right now what your first discipline move will be, not 100 things. 1, will you journal, make the call, begin the workout, read the page? The man you fear becoming doesn't start the day confused. He acts with purpose. And so must you. That's it. 5 minutes, 5 movements, and each one builds alignment between your identity and your actions. You do this every morning, and you begin to rewire how you see yourself. You stop hoping and start behaving. You stop watching others succeed and start joining them. Because here's the truth. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is defined by what you do daily. You don't need a perfect system. You need repeated ownership. The power is in the pattern. And this pattern, this 5-step morning ritual, is your new starting point. Do it for 7 days, and you'll feel a shift. Do it for 30, and others will notice the difference. Do it for 90, and you'll be unrecognizable in the best way. This is how we shape identity, not with declarations alone, but with discipline that follows. And if you want to see where this leads, if you want to know who you'll become if you keep showing up this way, then let me show you your 5-year future. That's what we'll talk about next. Because the man you fear today may just become the man you admire tomorrow. Let me ask you a serious question. Who will you be 5 years from now? Not what do you want, not what do you hope. Who will you be? Because 5 years isn't far. It's just a few seasons of discipline, a few cycles of doing what others refuse to do. And the man you become between now and then will not arrive by accident. He'll arrive because you built him, morning by morning, choice by choice. Picture it. 5 years from now, you're standing taller, speaking clearer. You walk into rooms and people notice, not because of arrogance, but because of alignment. You finally match on the outside what you've been trying to believe on the inside. Your habits are firm, your discipline is daily, and your confidence unshakable. Not because you avoided fear, but because you walked through it and became stronger. Or 5 years from now, nothing has changed. Same routines, same doubts, same quiet shame when you look in the mirror. The fear you never faced has now become your normal. And that's the danger of time. If you don't use it with purpose, it uses you with apathy. 5 years can either build your future or bury your potential. It all depends on whether you start behaving like the man you're meant to become. So let me offer you this. Pause right now and write it down. Who do I want to be 5 years from today? Not what do you want to have? Who do you want to be? Because when identity becomes the goal, everything else follows. The income, the health, the relationships, all of it begins with becoming the kind of man who earns it. And the beauty is this. You don't need to wait 5 years to start. You begin becoming him tomorrow morning. You act like him now. You wake up like him now. You speak like him now. That's how change happens. Identity first, action next, results in time. So if you're ready, let's make it real. Let's step into tomorrow with eyes wide open, spine straight, and habits sharp. The man you fear is just a disciplined version of you, waiting to be called forward, and now you know how to summon him. And let's end with a decision, a declaration, a call to rise, because it's your time. Let's finish. From this moment forward, stop waking up like a man who's behind. Stop waking up like a man who's unsure. You've seen what's possible. You've heard the call. So now you declare it, tomorrow, I wake up like the man I've been afraid to become. That's your new standard. That's your morning law. You don't wait to feel worthy. You behave your way into belief. And when doubt creeps in, you don't flinch. You meet it with discipline. Start the 5-minute ritual tomorrow morning. No excuses, just action. Write it down, speak it out, live it through, and then share your commitment. Drop it in the comments. Today, I begin my new identity. Not for applause, for accountability. You see, fear fades when you rise daily. Drift dies when you decide who you are. And the mirror, it begins to reflect a man no longer negotiating with potential, but walking in it. Wake up tomorrow like the man who leads your future, not the one who escaped your past. This is your moment. Let's go to work.